September 12th, 2018, 7:23 in the morning. I sat in my kitchen with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago, staring at my laptop screen and a checking account balance of $11,247. My Social Security check covered the basics, but basics don't cover much when your property taxes go up $400 a month and your Medicare supplement jumps another $150. I had two choices: get a job at Walmart greeting people, or figure out how to make money from this old Dell laptop my daughter gave me for Christmas 3 years earlier. I chose the laptop. Best decision I ever made. Worst 6 months of my life. Let me back up. At 68, I wasn't supposed to be starting anything. I was supposed to be playing golf, visiting grandkids, maybe taking up woodworking in my garage. But here's what nobody tells you about retirement. If you don't have enough money, you don't get to retire. You just get older and broker. My neighbor Carl knocked on my door that Tuesday morning. He'd been watching me through his kitchen window, probably wondering why I was up before sunrise again, hunched over that laptop like I was defusing a bomb. "Harold," he said, "what the hell are you doing in there? It's not even 8 a.m. I told him I was starting a business. He laughed. Not a mean laugh, but the kind of laugh you give someone who says they're going to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops. "A business? Harold, we're almost 70. We're supposed to be winding down, not winding up." That's exactly the problem. Everyone thinks 65 is the finish line. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's just another Tuesday. Except now you have less time and less money to waste on being wrong about things. So what was this business? I'll tell you in a minute, but first I need you to understand where I was mentally. Because the biggest barrier to starting anything after 65 isn't money. It's not health. It's not technology. It's the voice in your head that says you're too old, too slow, too late to the party. I had that voice. It was loud. It sounded exactly like my brother-in-law Rick, who'd been telling me for 3 years that I should just accept my situation and enjoy what I have left. Rick meant well, but Rick also spent his retirement watching Fox News and complaining about everything he couldn't control. I decided I didn't want to be Rick. The business idea came from frustration. I'd been trying to figure out Medicare for months. The whole system is designed to confuse you. Plans A through N, supplements, advantage plans, drug coverage, donut holes. It's like they hired someone specifically to make it as complicated as possible. I spent hours on the phone with Medicare, hours reading pamphlets that contradicted each other, hours talking to insurance agents who seemed to know less than I did. Then one day I cracked the code. Not the whole thing, but enough to save myself $200 a month on premiums and get better coverage. I was so excited I called my daughter in Phoenix to tell her. She said, "Dad, that's great. You should write this down. Mom always said you were good at figuring out complicated stuff." My wife, Margaret, she'd been gone 4 years by then, but her voice was still the clearest thing in my head. She used to say I could untangle Christmas lights that would make other people throw them in the trash. She was right. I've always been the guy people called when their printer stopped working or their insurance company sent them a letter they couldn't understand. So I wrote it down. Everything I learned about Medicare, every trick, every loophole, every way to save money and get better coverage. Took me 2 weeks to get it all organized. When I was done, I had 47 pages of pure gold. Information that could save someone thousands of dollars a year. But what do you do with 47 pages of information? This is where most people would stop. They'd put it in a folder, maybe show it to a few friends and feel good about helping. I was broke. Feeling good doesn't pay property taxes. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to do something. Write in the comments right now, "My experience has value." Not "I hope my experience has value," or "maybe my experience has value." Just "my experience has value." Because what I'm about to tell you only works for people who believe that first. I took my 47 pages and I turned them into something people would pay for. Sounds simple, right? It wasn't. I spent the next 3 months learning things I never thought I'd need to know. How to format a document so it looks professional. How to create a simple website. How to accept payments online. How to write an email that doesn't sound like I'm begging for money. Remember, this was 2018. I was 68 years old. The last time I'd created anything on a computer, Windows XP was cutting-edge technology. But I had something most young entrepreneurs don't have. I had time, I had patience, and I had nothing to lose. The first month was a disaster. I spent $89 on a website builder that I couldn't figure out how to use. I spent another $47 on a course about online marketing that was clearly designed for people who already knew what they were doing. I created an email address that I accidentally deleted 3 times trying to set up. At one point, I was so frustrated I closed the laptop and didn't touch it for a week. Carl found me sitting on my front porch that Friday evening, drinking a beer and staring at nothing. "How's the business going, Harold?" "It's not," I told him. "I'm too old for this. I don't know what I was thinking." He sat down next to me. "You know what my grandfather told me when I was 30 and wanted to quit my job to start a plumbing business?" "What?" "He said the only difference between a successful man and an unsuccessful man is the successful man failed 7 times instead of 6. Most people click away when someone tells them they're wrong about their age. You didn't. Hit subscribe. So I went back to the laptop. Month 2 was better, but not by much. I figured out the website, sort of. I got the payment system working, mostly. I wrote my first marketing email and sent it to a list of exactly 12 people. My kids, a few neighbors, and some folks from church. 2 people bought my Medicare guide. 2. I made $47 after fees and expenses. But those 2 people, a lady named Dorothy from my church and a guy named Frank who lived 3 streets over, they called me to say thank you. Dorothy said I saved her $1,800 a year. Frank said his wife had been crying about their Medicare costs, and now she wasn't anymore. That's when I realized I wasn't just selling information. I was solving real problems for real people. And people will pay for solutions, especially people our age who've been ignored by everyone else trying to make money online. Month 3, I made $340. Month 4, $890. By month 6, I was making more than my Social Security check. But I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and starting to wonder if Carl's grandfather was wrong about that 7th try. Then I met Eleanor Hutchins at the Walmart pharmacy. I was picking up my blood pressure medication. She was picking up something for her husband. We got to talking about Medicare costs. You know how conversations go when you're over 65. Everything comes back to money and health. She mentioned she'd been looking for help understanding her Medicare options. I told her about my guide. She bought it right there, standing next to the blood pressure cuffs, using her phone to make the purchase. 3 days later, she called me. But she didn't just thank me for the information. She asked me a question that changed everything. "Harold," she said, "do you have anything about Social Security optimization? Because I've got friends who are making big mistakes with their claiming strategies." I didn't have anything about Social Security, but I knew I could learn it, the same way I'd learned Medicare. More importantly, I realized Eleanor had just handed me my entire business model. Find the problems that people our age face every day, figure out the solutions, and organize those solutions in a way people can use immediately. Social Security optimization became my second guide. Then tax strategies for retirees. Then a guide about protecting assets from nursing home costs. Then one about maximizing pension benefits. Each guide took me about a month to research and write. Each one solved a specific problem that kept people my age awake at night. But here's where I discovered something that changed not just my business, but my entire understanding of how money works after 65. There's something called the capacity code. It says wealth only flows to people who can sustain it. Most people think that means you need money to make money. That's not what it means at all. The capacity code taught me that I had to become someone who could handle success before success would stick to me. I had been treating my business like a hobby, working when I felt like it, celebrating every small win like it was the lottery. The code showed me that real business owners think differently, act differently, prepare differently. The full system is in the description. I started thinking like someone who ran a $300,000 business, even when I was making $300 a month. I set up systems. I created schedules. I invested in better tools. I stopped celebrating making $500 and started planning for making $5,000. I changed my capacity first. Then my income followed. By the end of year one, I'd made $43,000. That's more than I'd made in my last year before retirement, working full-time for a company that laid me off 6 months before I was eligible for my full pension. But I was just getting started. Year two, I focused on one thing, helping more people solve bigger problems. Instead of just selling guides, I started offering phone consultations. 30 minutes for $97. People could ask me specific questions about their specific situations. I booked solid within 2 months. Then something interesting happened. The people I helped started referring their friends. Not because I asked them to, I didn't, but because when you solve real problems for people, they can't help but tell other people about you. Dorothy from church brought me 3 new clients. Frank sent me his brother and 2 guys from his bowling league. Eleanor Hutchins single-handedly sent me half the women from her book club. Year 3, I made $180,000. Year 4, $267,000. Last year, year 5 of this business, I started with $200 and a laptop I barely knew how to use. I made $341,847. But here's what really changed. It wasn't just the money. I had a reason to get up every morning. I had people depending on me. I was using everything I'd learned in 68 years of life to make other people's lives better. I wasn't retired anymore. I was contributing. My neighbor Carl, the same guy who laughed when I told him I was starting a business, knocked on my door last month. "Harold," he said, "I need to ask you something. My nephew is 34, just lost his job, keeps saying he's too old to start over. What do I tell him?" I laughed, a real laugh this time. Tell him if a 68-year-old man with $200 and a laptop he got for Christmas can build a 6-figure business in 5 years, maybe 34 isn't too old for anything. Look, I'm 74. I'm not trying to build a business empire or become the next online marketing guru. But I learned something that most people never figure out. Your age isn't your limitation. Your age is your advantage. You know things. You've solved problems. You've been through stuff that young people can't even imagine. After everything I went through, I put the 7 laws in one guide because nobody gave me a roadmap when I started this business with nothing but determination and a laptop. If even one person reads it and avoids the mistakes I made, then the 5 years I spent figuring this out the hard way meant something. Check the description. Here's what I want you to understand. Every single day you wait is a day someone else is making money solving problems you could solve better. You know more than you think you know. You've lived through more than most people ever will. Your experience isn't just valuable, it's irreplaceable. I get emails every week from people who say they're too old to start, too old at 55, too old at 60, too old at 65. I started at 68 with $200 and a laptop I didn't know how to use. If I can figure out online business, Medicare optimization, and how to make six figures helping people navigate retirement challenges, what's stopping you? The hardest part isn't learning new technology. It's not competition from younger people. It's not even money. The hardest part is believing that your decades of experience solving problems, raising families, building careers, surviving setbacks, and figuring things out actually matter to people who are going through the same things right now. It does matter, more than you know. My business isn't about Medicare guides or Social Security optimization or retirement planning. My business is about taking everything I learned the hard way and helping other people learn it the easy way. That's what every successful business does at any age. The difference is when you're 68, you've got a lot more hard-won wisdom to share. Every morning at 6 a.m., I still sit at my kitchen table with my laptop. Not because I have to anymore, but because I want to. Because somewhere in America, there's a 67-year-old woman trying to figure out her Medicare options. There's a 71-year-old man wondering if he claims Social Security too early. There's a retired couple lying awake at night worried about money, and I know how to help them because I've been exactly where they are. That's not retirement, that's purpose. And purpose pays better than any pension ever could. Do me a favor, write in the comments, "My age is my advantage." 3 words that most people never figure out. Because when you've lived long enough to accumulate real wisdom, marketing that wisdom isn't about age, it's about value. And value never retires. They told me at 68 that I was too old to start over. Last year I was too successful to care what they thought.